When you open Maya for the first time, this will be kind of what your window is going to look like. It might differ depending on which version you're on. I'm on Autodesk Maya 2025 and I don't have any scene files open yet. A scene file is basically a file in Maya that you will use to create your projects. You can also see that you have something called current project here and it's on the default. We will talk about this once we start creating our actual models, but for now, let's just get familiar with the Maya interface and how to navigate within the software. I'm going to use this new button to create files. When you have a few files opened up here, you might not have this option available, which will also create a new file for you. So I'm just going to use this button here. When I open Maya up, at first it's really overwhelming. There's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of windows, and you have no idea what to look at first. Luckily, we'll only be using a few of these tabs and windows in this class. We're not going to be using all of it. And starting out, we're going to start really small. We're going to start by familiarizing ourselves with just a few parts of the interface. To get us started, I'm going to create an object within Maya. Whenever you're in Maya, you're always going to be working on a model. You're going to be working on some object that's in this workspace right here. So it's usually located in this workspace right here. And to get started, I'm going to create a basic cube. To do that, I do it from this menu right here. So you can see that I have poly modeling selected. This will be the default for most of you. If it's not, if you're on another menu right here, just select poly modeling and you should see all these things I'm seeing right here. We're just going to go to the very left of the poly modeling screen and click on this cube. So this creates a cube right in the center of the Maya workspace, and we're going to use this cube to explore a bit of the interface. The first thing that we're going to look at is the outliner. So you can see now that I have this cube here and it's selected. So if you see this little green border around your object, that means it's selected. So you see that I have the cube, it's selected, and it's also selected in the outliner. The outliner is basically a collection of every single object that you have in the screen. We haven't created anything else, we've just created this cube, but all the other things here, these objects and these objects are all default objects in Maya. They're always going to be there when you start a new Maya file. We're just going to leave these be and we're going to focus on this cube. So I can also select the cube from here and it gets selected in the viewport. So this is useful when you have many objects and you want to select one of them, but you're not sure where it is in the viewport. You can just select it from the outliner right here. If I just click on some more of these objects in poly modeling, you can see that it creates more of these objects in the outliner and they're all created at the center of this Maya workspace. And where they're created is called the origin. We'll talk more about that later, but they're all basically created right in the center. I'm going to delete all the other objects that I have here. I'm going to click on this, shift click on the second object, and hit the delete key on the keyboard. Let's select this cube again and look at another tab here on the right. So this is called the channel box, and this is where you have information about your object and where it is in space. You also will have more information come in here once you start manipulating your object, but when you get started, you just have this little box right here which tells you where your object is. You can see that the scale of your object is all at 1, which means it's the default scale, and you have your translation and rotation all at 0, which means that the object has not moved at all. It's still at its default position. So You can see these details for the object only when it's selected. So when you have multiple objects, you can select them from the viewport or outliner and get their specific details. So if I create this cylinder, I can see the details of the cylinder. And once we take a look at that, we can take a look at the modeling toolkit. You might use some of these menu options when you start modeling within Maya. We're not going to explore any of these right now since we haven't started modeling yet, but you might use this window once in a while. There's also another window here called the Attribute Editor that looks a little confusing right now, but we will use it once we get a little more familiar with the rest of the software. For now, I'm going to leave this tab on the channel box since that'll give us some more information with what we're going to do next, and we're going to continue learning how to navigate. Now that we know some of the menu options, we're going to see how to move around in the workspace. So we want to move around within this space right here where we have our objects. And if you want to zoom into this workspace, you want to zoom in, you can click on Alt and right click on your mouse, and you can zoom into your object or to any other part of the workspace. And if you click on Alt and left click, you can rotate around your object. You can basically rotate the workspace in any direction. An Alt and middle mouse button lets you pan up and down. So basically, navigation in Maya is just holding down Alt and using one of the three mouse buttons to do the navigation that you want to. Once you've used Maya for a bit, this becomes second nature, it becomes more natural. When you're starting out, you might find it a little difficult to move through these three options. You can also use the mouse scroll button to zoom in and out. I prefer Alt and right click just because it gives you a more precise zoom in some of the times. You can now move around the workspace, you can move around your object. But what if you want to move your object? If you want to move any object within Maya, select it, make sure to have that selected, and you have three options to move your object. So you can use translation, rotation, or scale. You can see these options right here in the channel box. So to do translation, which is moving it across any of these three axes, X, Y, or Z, you click on W. You'll also notice that it selects this menu option right here. I always prefer to use the shortcut keys. I don't select this from here just because it's faster to use the shortcuts. So I click on W on the keyboard, and then I can use these arrows to move this object around. So I can use these arrows and it moves in the direction that the arrow is pointing. And you can see that it also changes these values right here. If you want to just move the object without moving it on a particular axis, just click on the center square right here. It highlights yellow and just move it around like that. I prefer moving it with the axis because you kind of know where it's going to go. So that's for translation, which is movement. Then you have rotation. So for rotation, click on E on the keyboard. It selects this little icon right here and do the exact same thing. You can rotate across these three axes. You can also free rotate, selecting that circle on the outside. I prefer to rotate across axes again. And you can see that these values change as you do that. You can, if you want to change the size or the shape of this object, click on R for scale, selects this option right here, and you can use this to scale your object in different directions. I prefer, if I already like the shape of my object, I always scale it from the center, so it only scales it proportionately. It does not change the shape of your object. So I usually use the center for scale. But for translation and rotation, I use the axes options. So this will really depend on what you're working on when you're using these gizmos, but keep this in mind when you start working on your models. And what if you have this object selected but you don't want to see any of these gizmos? You just want to see your object itself. You click on Q on the keyboard, and that goes back to this cursor right here. So now you can navigate the workspace, you can also move your object around. The next thing that we're going to learn is how to manipulate your object and what components you can use within Maya to do this.